Hello everybody and welcome back to Ina Knits. My name is Ina and I am as always coming to you from Norway. This is my video podcast about my knitting and my love for yarn and wool and all that jazz. You can find me online as ina.knits. That's my username on Instagram. And I have a profile on Ravelry, which is inapina. So warm welcome back for any returning viewer. I am so grateful that you are sticking with me and coming back. And if you are watching for the first time, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you see. And if you do, I would very much appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. And subscribe, of course, if you would like to come back later for another episode. Today it is August 26th and we have another period of rather hot summer weather. It is super nice. The sun is out and we have something about mid-20s degrees Celsius, and that's great summer weather for Norway. And it's very hot inside as well, so I'm a bit blushy in my cheeks and I'm a bit sweaty, but that's just how it is today. And yes, I have something funny going on with my hair. I have about a month ago I started something brand new for me, at least. I watched a podcast episode, I think it was a rather old one, of Lindsay, who has the Wooden Nest podcast, a wonderful podcast. And she was doing a Q&A and was asked about her hair. She has long, very curly, beautiful hair. And she told that she was doing something called the curly girl method. And I had never heard of that, so I had to look it up on the internet and on YouTube, and have been watching lots of videos, and a new universe has opened up for me. Because I have quite a bit of natural curling going on. But it has been more of a source of frustration for me because I couldn't handle that curly hair right, and I tend to flatten it out rather than trying to enhance the waves and the curls. So it seems to work quite nice already. So I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, but this episode is not going to be all about my hair, of course. I am here to talk about my knitting. I have a very special episode today because I have 2 years podiversary this month, and that's so exciting. 2 years ago in August. I think my very first episode was called August Knitting, and wow, that seems so long ago, and it's only 2 years. That's amazing. I feel like I've come so far with my podcast, and I'm very grateful that I've been able to connect with so many wonderful persons, knitters all around the world, and that's just an amazing thing. I'm very grateful for this very inclusive and loving and caring and wonderful community. I want to thank you all so much for supporting me and my podcast and giving me so much love and beautiful feedback. That means so much to me, so thank you. I'm also closing in on 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that is absolutely mind-blowing. I could never imagine that this channel would grow to such a number. 5,000 is quite large for a knitting channel. So I'm very, very surprised and happy. And I would like to host a giveaway to celebrate my subscribers and to celebrate my podiversary, and at the same time be able to give something back to one of you. So if you would like to participate in the giveaway, it's rather simple. Be a subscriber to my channel, press the like button below this video and leave a comment letting me know how far you have been on my podcast journey. For instance, is this the first time you are watching, or have you been following for several episodes? I'm just super curious to get to know a little bit more about you wonderful people viewing my podcast, and I will pick a random winner by the time that I'm recording my next podcast, so probably around 10th of September. And the prize is quite marvelous in my opinion. It's a beautiful gradient set of lamb's wool, Norwegian lamb's wool, and this is hand dyed by the wonderful Nina Petrina. And the price is not sponsored, it's something that I have purchased myself. But I'm a big fan of Nina Petrina's work. She is doing some plant fiber dyeing. No, she's doing some plant-based dyeing, but I believe that this is dyed using regular wool dyes. And she has done a lot of different dyeing techniques, but lately she has done a lot of these beautiful gradient sets, and each of the colors are 50-gram hanks of Norwegian lamb's wool, and in total there are 300 grams. And this particular set is called Rødvin gradient, which means red wine, gradient of red wine. Is it beautiful? I know it is. It will be very difficult to part with my gradient set. I've had it on display for some time, but now I think it needs to go to a new good home. Yes, so that is the giveaway, and please join if you are interested in winning this gorgeous gradient set. Okay, so let's jump into some knitting. I have a couple of finished objects today. Yay! And I need to start off showing you my weekender sweater. Here she is. The sweater is blocked, is washed and blocked, but I haven't sewn in all of the ends, obviously. This sweater is, it's a pullover by Andrea Mowry, or Drea Renee Knits. And it is originally a worsted weight sweater, but I have chosen to knit it with Brooklyn Tweed Loft, which is I'm not sure. Is it a fingering or a heavy fingering or a sport weight perhaps? I was aiming for a lighter sweater, and so I got. It is super light. I think I used four hanks of the Brooklyn Tweed Loft, and they are 50 grams each. So the sweater is super light. It weighs almost nothing. And the construction is very easy and classic. You got the split hem on the bottom, and the body is knit in reversed stockinette, and then you have a slipped stitch pattern in the center, both back and front, and a beautiful detail with some ribbing on the top part, and the sleeves are knit just in plain stockinette. And you use the tubular cast, no, not the tubular cast off. You use the tubular cast on for the bottom hem, and since it knit bottom up, you use the tubular bind off method for the arms and the edging around the neck, and it creates a very neat and tidy finish. So it's a beautiful sweater, but I have a couple of issues with it. I didn't take into account that this yarn is, because of its nature being very lofty and light and airy, it tends to pull up. You don't have any weight in the yarn helping it to stay in shape as a garment. So I have already washed and blocked this sweater once, and I tried to shape it and stretch it out. But as soon as it dries up and as soon as I wear the sweater, it like compresses, or it's pulling up. So I really wish that I have knit the sweater a bit longer. It's a tiny bit short, and also this is supposed to be a very oversized sweater with like 20, is it centimeters or inches? No, it can't be inches. It's supposed to be 20 centimeters positive ease or something like that. And I didn't want that kind of a very big oversized sweater, so I, with intent or intentionally, knitted a smaller size than I would normally do, and with thinner yarn and slightly thinner needles. So my gauge is obviously different from the pattern. So I knew that the sweater would be smaller, but the combination of smaller sized sweater and the nature of the yarn and the fabric, I'm not very convinced about the sweater yet. So I think I need to give it another bath or another soak and try to stretch it even more and see if that helps at the moment I'm not feeling very confident wearing this, unfortunately. But I love the fabric itself, isolated. The fabric isolated, and the color is very neutral and can be worn with super many things, and it can be styled to be elegant or just informal, and yeah, it's very versatile, and that was what I was looking for in this sweater. So we shall see. I can keep you updated on how it goes. I have one hank of the Brooklyn Tweed Loft left, and it is just a wonderful yarn. This is the Colorway postcard, and I hope to be able to use this in maybe a shawl or something. I think that would be super cozy later. Okay, my next finished object is a pair of socks, and I don't have my sock blockers. Okay, I just have to show you like this then. So this is my hot socks from Grindle. I was knitting one, and then I packed it away, and I couldn't find it for several weeks. And then I casted on the second one, and I had to guess the length of the cuff, the length of the foot, how I did the heel, etc. Because I don't have a written recipe for my socks. I have it all in my head, and I tend to vary my socks and how to knit my socks depending on who I'm knitting for, my mood that day. Do I need something exciting? Do I need to knit something very simple? It all depends on lots of factors. So I just found the first sock just a week ago or something, after I finished the second one, almost knitting blind. And I'm very excited to see that these are matching up quite well, actually. You can see that this one is a tiny bit longer, the cuff is a tiny bit longer than the first one, but that's fine. And the length of the leg is, you know, probably a couple of centimeters longer on this one. But the most important thing is that the foot seems to be quite similar. Yeah. So these are the self-striping hot socks. It is a very rustic type of sock yarn. This was my first time knitting with Grindle. Here is the label for you. And the color is 002. I think it is a German brand of yarn. It is 75% Sure Wolle, which means virgin wool, or ny ull på norsk, in Norwegian, and 25% polyamide. So typical sturdy sock yarn, quite similar to Opal or Regia or something in that range. And this is my little cake that I have left of the 100-gram ball of yarn, and I think that I have about 25 grams left. So this will go into my mini skein or mini ball stash. I have several things on my needles right now. Firstly, I would like to show you the shawl that I casted on this summer, and I showed you the beginning of it in my last episode. And this is the Find Your Fade shawl by Andrea Maury, also called Andrea Renee Knits. And yay! I'm in the middle of a row. Isn't that typical? And the rows are getting larger and larger. I haven't counted the stitches for a long time, so I have no clue how many stitches there are. But I can definitely say that the rows are taking longer and longer to complete. I am in the section of my 4th color, and these are all hedgehog fiber yarns. I think I forgot to tell you last time that the basis of this shawl is a shawl kit or a set of hedgehog fibers, sock yarn that I purchased together with a friend in the Trondheim Strikk, a fair in Trondheim. And I bought it from Garnbutikken Fortuna, which is one of my favorite local yarn shops. I've not been there yet, but they have a fabulous online shop, and I will for sure pay them a visit in the shop, in the physical shop, during this year. That's a goal of mine. Anyhow, these beautiful yarns are the original colors that Andrea Maury designed the Find Your Fade shawl of, or with. But there is one exception, and that is my current colorway. I changed out this color, which is supposed to be color number 4, and I don't remember the colorway name, but I changed it out with this color, and this is the Film Noir colorway, which I rather like. It's more of a grayish white with some black and deep red and some oranges or peach color. Because I would like a pale part of the shawl. It is otherwise a very colorful shawl, obviously. So I like the idea of having a bit of a calmer part of the shawl, because after this one I am transitioning into pink, and then this one, beautiful pinkish red, and ending with the red black-ish color. I think this will be super nice. Yes, and my progress since my episode in late July is from this little marker and up to here. So about 20 centimeters perhaps. And yes. I have no clue when this will be finished, but it is a very nice project to bring with me to like a coffee shop, or when I'm meeting somebody and talking and knitting at the same time, because it's a lot of garter stitch. So then, you know, the needles can just fly and do their thing while I concentrate on my date or whatever. Okay, so that's the Find Your Page all. Next up, I have a couple of socks, and so this is basically a hoe, which is a half finished object, and it is a Christmas sock. I was very inspired by Christmas in July, obviously. So I had to cast on for another pair of Christmas socks. And this is one of West Yorkshire Spinners Christmas colorways called Holly Berry. So it's self-striping, and I'm using the standard contrast color. I think it's called Cherry Drop. I'm doing a kind of a broken rib, it's called. It's a 4x1 rib. And then I did a fish lips kiss heel, which is one of my favorite heels. It's a short row heel. And I did a contrasting toe as well. I have actually adopted this little ball from my friend Daisy. She has already knitted a pair of socks from this ball, and if I'm remembering correct, I think that she, in her turn, adopted the ball from another friend. And I don't know. It might be true. I might be right. Because this is all that I have left. And I'm now on sock number 2. And I have quite a bit to go. I'm probably halfway down the leg by now. But I don't have very much yarn left. It will be enough for sure, but I think I will use up the majority of these two. So, I don't know. This is 200 grams. It is 800 meters, about that amount of yarn. And you should be able to crank out 3 pairs. Shouldn't you? I think so. It's a nice thought that every little bit of this yarn has been spent. So yeah, my Christmas socks. They will be ready to wear in time for Advent this year, for sure. Last week I was traveling with my work. I was traveling by plane. I was staying in a hotel, and I wanted to bring with me a limited knitting project, and I wanted to cast on a new pair of socks. But then I kind of remembered that I had a project in my stash, hibernating, and that gave me a reason to find it and pick it up again. And I don't believe that I have been sharing these socks since last year because I haven't been working on them ever since last fall or something. But anyway, here they are. I mean, these are just amazing. I was just above or below. I was below this blue part here. That was the status of the socks when I picked them up last week. So I have been knitting the heel, and I have almost completed the gusset decreases. So that was all the knitting I did on my 2 days trip. I'm not very skilled on knitting this technique, but it is nice for a change to do something else than knitting just regular magic loop or knitting with DPNs. So I kind of like 2 at a time socks. That said, the main reason why I do 2 at a time socks here is because I'm knitting from a gorgeous gorgeous sock blank. It's not a knit blank, it's a sock blank. So this is all that's left of the sock blank, and this blank is made by Countess Ablaze. I was part of they had a monthly subscription club. Maybe they still do, but I am no longer part of that club. Called Classic Society. That's the name of their club, and it was an amazing club. You got a hank of yarn or a sock blank, hand dyed. That was a surprise colorway and a surprise kind of or type of yarn every time, and then you got something with it, like playing cards and some pencils and crayons, I mean, and a game and a coloring booklet, and it was something else. But this particular sock blank is a double knit sock blank. So when you pull the thread to knit the sock blank, you're pulling 2 strands simultaneously. So I could obviously knit 1 sock at a time, but then I had to ball up the other strand to knit that one later, and I figured it was much easier for me just to knit both of the socks simultaneously instead. So I kind of like them. I love the combination of this minty tealish blue color and orange and magenta and some brighter blues. It's just a fantastic combination. And you know, the magic of knitting them 2 at a time is that they are turning out like twins. So yes, that's a very nice little project, mindless project. Yes, I have 2 more whips going right now. One of them is, this is a wrap or a scarf, and at the moment it is a bit tangled, so I need to untangle before I can show you anything. So the story behind this wrap is that I was in Zurich last year in September together with 2 friends, and one of them, she fell in love with. We were visiting a beautiful yarn shop called Tutulana. Is that correct? Yes, Tutulana. That's the name of the yarn shop, and they had some very nice samples of knitwear in the shop, and one of them was this beautiful wrap. It doesn't have a name, but I bought yarn for this wrap or shawl or whatever you would call it, a stole maybe. And I haven't knitted yet, but I still have the yarn, of course, and I got the pattern for the wrap for free. And it is written in German, and it is called Modell W16 56 Schal. That's the name of it. I couldn't find it on Ravelry, but I have it in handwritten German right here. It's a very simple construction, really. It consists of 2 yarn. So they are both Ito yarns. This is pure silk. It's super thin, like light fingering or lace weight yarn. And this is a blend of silk mohair. The silk here is called Kinu. So Ito Kinu. And the silk mohair is called Sensai. So, okay, so this is the combination, and this is it's super delicate and super thin. I think that the silk will grow somehow after washing and blocking. You're doing these stripes. That's the whole thing, really. It's quite wide. I'm in the middle of a row again, so I can't really show you how wide it is, but yeah, this is it. And I meant to tell you that one of my friends that I was traveling with, she doesn't knit at all, and she completely fell in love with the same wrap. So I offered her to knit one for her. So she just bought the yarn herself and handed it over to me, and I was supposed to knit it for her. I think I told her that I couldn't promise any finished date, simply because at that time, this is almost 1 year ago, at that time I had my mom's piece cardigan as a focal point. I knew that I needed to finish that before I could start knitting this shawl or wrap for her. So, and I've kind of forgotten about it. I have finished, of course, my mom's piece cardigan. If you haven't followed me on that journey, you can hear and see all about that if you go 2 episodes back from this one. But this summer I kind of became aware that I have made her, my friend, this promise, and I kind of also remember that We are going on another trip in the middle of September this year. And then I thought, oh my, I need to at least start this wrap before I meet her again and try and complete it. It would be amazing if I could give her this wrap as an early birthday present when I meet her in September. But we shall see. It's not my favorite thing to knit with raw silk. And not my favorite thing to knit with silk mohair one strand alone either. So that's that. And this is supposed to become 2 meters and 20 centimeters long. And I'm about 20 centimeters now, so I have 2 meters left in less than 3 weeks. So we shall see. We shall see. Fingers crossed I can do it. I can pull it off. I just remember that I have another work in progress to show you, and seems like I have forgotten to bring it with me. So a short break and then I will come back. Yes, so I dug out my final work in progress today. It is a pullover. It is the Riddari. It is made originally out of Letlopi yarn, which is quite rustic. So it's one of those sweaters that you can wear outside of your thinner woolens, and it will keep you super nice and warm in the late fall and during winter. I believe you can like wear it as an outer layer basically during winter time. I am using Letlopi for the contrast colors, and here they are. These were given to me as a gift from a viewer, and they are so nice together. I love them. And I am using a different yarn for the main color. This is an Icelandic yarn. It's Navia brushed tradition. And it is made out of Faroe wool. And it's a very special yarn because I got this from my wonderful Faroe friend Daisy for my 40th my 40 birthday. Okay, so the brushed tradition yarn is a bit thinner than the Letlopi, but I think it's turning out quite well. I'm knitting with the same gauge that is stated in the pattern. So you can't see it really here, but the fabric here is a bit more airy than the rather dense fabric you get with only knitting with the Letlopi. That said, the brushed tradition, it's a brushed Faroe wool. And you know the brushed alpaca, for instance, it's very hairy. And this is very hairy as well, but the fibers are a tiny bit more rustic than the one you get with alpaca wool. So it's really on the scratchy end of the scale. This is not a fabric for a very sensitive person, but I think it's turning out very, very nice. And I am, as usual, knitting the arms first. I'm rather fond of knitting, of starting with one arm, and then I use the arm as kind of a gauge or a swatch. And if I need to do some modifications, I can easily do so by adjusting the increases on the arms, and I can incorporate the need for changes in the body as well, and cast on fewer or more stitches if needed. So yeah, this is a bottom-up knitted cardigan. So I need to knit both arms and then I will knit the body, and it got a beautiful colored yoke, or stradded color yoke. So yes, that's my riddery. And I can't wait to have this finished for winter. So that was everything that I have on my needles and that I have finished during my past 3 weeks. I did discover though that I have another finished object that dates back to this past winter. I had a rather long podcast break from December to June or July, and then I had to make up for lost time, so to speak. So, but I forgot to show you this pullover that I think I started it late December. I believe that this was my last cast on of 2018. And then I completed it by the time I went to New York, the Vogue Knitting Live Festival in New York, and that was in the end of January. So I completed this entire sweater within 3 weeks, or maybe 4 weeks. I can't remember exactly. So yeah, so this was a very nice knit. It is a DK weight sweater, so I knitted it on 3.5mm needles, and it has a beautiful patterned yoke. It is called Tiril Snökristall or Tiril Snow Crystal. And if you can see closely, I have some glitter yarn in the pattern here. So yeah, you can see the snow crystals here and up here. So the yarn I've used is Eden Cottage yarn. It's their DK based base called Titus DK, and the colorway is Mill Pound. And for the contrast, I have held 2 strands together. One strand of Holst Super Soft in the navy colorway, and one strand of Lana Grossa in Myland White Late Night. It's blue-green dark color. I have some lovely new things to show you. Firstly, I have the final installment of the Hedgehog Fibers yarn club. It's their monthly club. I had the 3-month subscription of June, July and August, and I'm about to show you the August yarn. So if you're expecting this yarn soon and you don't want to be spoiled by me, please look away now, because I'm going to show you. Here it is. I absolutely love it. This is a Swiss sock, which is their blue-faced Leicester wool and nylon blend in fingering weights. And these colors are just absolutely gorgeous. Wow. Super happy. I'm very conscious at the moment not to buy a lot of new yarns. I know that I have a wonderful stash of yarn, and I'm trying my best to use the things that I have already. So I'm not going to subscribe to another round of hedgehog fibers for now. But I have been so extremely fortunate as to receive a beautiful gift from a viewer of the podcast. This was a huge surprise. I'm not expecting to receive anything. I am doing this podcast for fun, primarily for my own sake, but also this is a way for me to reach out to you and to get to know a lot of people and to kind of communicating with a lot of wonderful knitters around the world. So Anne, she's called Anne, she reached out to me and told me that she was living in an area where they had a beautiful stone, and this stone is called the Petoskey, oh my god. It's a beautiful stone, and it's very specific for the area where she lives. And I've talked about this before, but I'm very fond of the history of our Earth with respect to the geology and the origin of, you know, how stones and formations came to be. And I've been studying geology previously, so I'm fond of stones, and she was so super generous and offered to send me some samples of this beautiful Petoskey stone. It is made out of fossilized corals. So what you see here is it's corals that have been living in the lake or in the sea, and they have been fossilized and creates this wonderful pattern. They are absolutely amazing. And she included some information about the stone here. It's a super rare stone, and you can only find it in the area where she lives, in Michigan. So that's absolutely amazing. It's a wonderful addition to my collection of stones. So I just expected, she was so generous and offered to send me these stones, and I opened the package in the mail and I immediately saw that this was not only stones. So everything came in a beautiful project bag that Anne sewed herself. Isn't this so cute? I love it. and it's so super well made. And she included yarn as well. I mean, come on. My very first hank of plucky knitter. Such a luxury. I got a couple of Felici. And 2 balls of Patton's Croy. She knows that I love Patton's Croy. I also got some teas and some other goodies and a super nice and lovely card and some wonderful stitch markers. I have already started to use these stitch markers. I have one on the Find Your Fade shawl. So this one, it's a cute little sock. This was also from Anne. Oh my god, Anne! This was an amazing gift, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so super grateful. I can't wait to start knitting with this gorgeous yarn. My battery lamp has begun to blink and I am losing both battery power and the daylight right now. Yeah, the lighting is not ideal at the moment. But before I let you go, I would like to talk to you a little bit about my plans for this fall. Last fall we had a knit along and we knitted one of Stephen West's wonderful shawls called Lumpy Space together. And that was great fun, and I thought that I would repeat the cal and have another shawl along. And this fall I am very eager to knit a shawl by Johi Locatelli, and it is called Ziggy. And here you can see a picture of the shawl. It is a quite simple construction of garter ridges and a lace pattern. And I was super inspired by Vigdis, who is one of the ladies behind Toretto and Vrang podcast, the Norwegian podcast that I talked about in my last episode. And she was doing a version of this shawl. It is a 2-skein shawl, so you need 2 hanks of 100 grams of fingering weight yarn. And she was doing a version where she knitted with a hand-dyed speckled lamb's wool yarn, and she combined that hank with a plain white. And I happen to have the exact same hank in my stash. And I need to show you this beautifulness. It's my very first hank of Værbit yarn, and Værbit is a Norwegian hand dyer located in Oslo. This is Hillesvåg Ask, which is a sport weight yarn, 315 meters per 100 gram. And it's 100% wool from Norwegian hvit sau, which is white sheep. And this colorway is called Strøssel, and Strøssel is sprinkles in English. So to combine this with some neutral yarn, I'm not sure yet what I will combine it with, but either white like Vigdis or maybe grey or something else. I will figure that out. So if you'd like to accompany me this fall and knit the Ziggy shawl together with me, that would be fabulous. I have so much on my needles, and I will not be casting on the Siggy shawl until maybe the end of September, or perhaps 1st of October. Let's say 1st of October. So we have a full month to prepare for the Siggy shawl, and then we can knit the Siggy shawl together for the rest of the year. That will be super fun. I will draw some prizes, and we will have a hashtag, and I will create a group thread in my Ravelry group called Ina Knits Podcast in Ravelry. So yeah, more about that knit along later. I will let you go now because the battery lamp is blinking like crazy. I wish you a wonderful rest of August. I hope you get a lot of knitting time, and have a wonderful late summer / beginning of fall. And thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in a couple of weeks' time. Bye bye.